All right, let's dive right in and deconstruct. See what I did there? One of the most visually wild and honestly fascinating movements in all of modern architecture.
You know that feeling, right? You're walking down the street and you see a building that just makes you stop. And you think, wait a minute, is that thing falling apart on purpose? It looks fragmented, maybe a little broken. Well, guess what? There's a very good chance you were looking at a style that's all about embracing that look of, let's call it, controlled chaos.
And that style has a name: Deconstructivism. It really exploded onto the scene in the late 1980s, and it was a radical, total departure from everything that came before. The whole idea is to take familiar shapes, familiar ideas of what a building should be, and then distort them, fragment them, and reassemble them into something completely new and unexpected.
So to really get a handle on deconstructivism, you have to understand what it was rebelling against. Because this wasn't just about looking different for the sake of it. Oh no. This was a full-blown philosophical rebellion.
This movement didn't just pop up out of thin air. It was a direct answer to the super rigid, everything in its place order of modernism. And it was also pushing back against what it saw as the kind of superficial and playful history quoting of postmodernism. The goal here wasn't just to bend the rules. It was to shatter them entirely.
Okay, this chart is super helpful because it really lays out the key differences. So you see, postmodernism loved to playfully borrow from history, sometimes ironically. Deconstructivism? Nope, rejected it completely. Where postmodernism would add decoration onto a building, deconstructivism made the building's actual geometry the complicated ornamental feature. It's not about what you add on. The complication is the structure itself.
And its influences came from some really deep places. A huge one was the French philosopher Jacques Derrida, whose whole thing was about taking apart language to find hidden meanings. Architects applied that to buildings. They also looked back at the wild geometric art of Russian constructivism and the fractured viewpoints of cubism. So, when you put all that together, what you get is a full-scale assault on that old modernist mantra, form follows function.
Now, big ideas are one thing, but it takes some truly visionary architects to turn all that philosophy into reality. So let's look at two of the giants who basically define the movement, each with their own incredible and unique take.
First up, the one and only Zaha Hadid. Now, a lot of deconstructivist work is all about sharp, jagged angles, but Hadid's work is famous for its absolutely stunning fluidity. She took those core ideas of fragmentation and distortion and gave them this incredible sense of motion and grace.
And this quote from her just nails it. She wanted to capture the chaotic fluidity of modern life. Think about that. Her buildings aren't supposed to be static objects just sitting there. They're designed to feel like they're in motion, flowing and changing, just like the world around us.
A perfect example is her Maxi Museum in Rome. She didn't want to just build a container for art. She called it a campus for art. And you really feel that when you're there. You've got these flowing concrete walls that guide you through the space, these dramatic black staircases that seem to just float in midair, and these continuous open spaces that can be changed for any exhibit. It's all designed to take you on a journey.
And this is the result, the Maxi Museum. It's an incredible landmark of fluid design, really a concrete version of her revolutionary ideas about space and movement.
All right, now let's switch gears to another icon, Frank Gehry. If Hadid's work is like a flowing river, Gehry's is like a controlled explosion. He's a master of explosive fragmentation, assembling what look like totally separate pieces and surfaces into something that feels both chaotic and perfectly whole at the same time. And his process is legendary. It doesn't start with a computer. It starts with a scribble. Literally, just a quick doodle. Then he takes that energy and builds these rough, physical models out of crumpled paper and cardboard. Then the tech comes in. They scan these handmade models into advanced 3D software, the same kind used to design airplanes, which figures out all the mind-bendingly complex engineering needed to actually build these impossible shapes. And the result of that process is something like this: the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. I mean, just look at it. The outside is covered in titanium tiles that ripple and change color in the light. Those curves look random, but every single one is meticulously planned. Inside, there's a massive, soaring atrium he nicknamed the Flower, and it leads to galleries like the unbelievable Boat Gallery, a single room that's over 400 feet long with 0 columns. This building was so powerful, it literally created a term called the Bilbao effect. It proved that a single, daring piece of architecture could completely revitalize a city's economy and culture. It became a global icon, way bigger than just the world of architecture. You see the same philosophy in the Walt Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles.
The outside is this beautiful sculpture of reflective steel that looks like billowing sails. But then you go inside, and all that cool metal gives way to the incredible warmth of these huge curved walls made of Douglas fir. And at the heart of it all is this wild, massive organ that's a sculpture all by itself. It's a landmark that just perfectly captures the energy of LA. It's like architectural music, and it's every bit as iconic to the city's skyline as the Hollywood sign.
So, after all the chaos, the fragmentation, and the rule-breaking, what's the lasting impact? What did deconstructivism really leave us with? To put it simply, it expanded the dictionary. It gave architects permission to challenge absolutely everything: form, function, gravity, tradition, you name it. It proved that buildings didn't have to be simple, orderly boxes. They could be expressive, emotional, and complicated.
Ultimately, deconstructivism showed us all that there is profound beauty to be found in chaos. It created a visual language for our complex, messy world. And it leaves us with one heck of a question. Now that these rules have been so spectacularly broken, what rules will architecture break next?